Good afternoon. Christopher Clark, Town Administrator for the Town of Harwich. We're in kind of a little bit of a void area where we've just finished town meeting and we're on the verge of having the election. So I thought it'd be worthwhile today to just kind of focus a little bit on how town meeting went, some of the outcomes of town meeting, and we'll talk probably the next one in regards to the contingency that some of the votes required at town meeting were dependent upon what happens at the town election. So we'll talk about the town election elements after. One of the things that after each town meeting, I think we had a pretty successful town meeting from an administrative standpoint. Pretty much the submissions that were made by the different departments and by administration were carefully vetted by the Capital Outlay Committee, carefully vetted by the Board of Selectmen, and carefully vetted by the Finance Committee. And I think the end result was by having those three groups really be all on the same page and agreeing to the plan, that helped to make town meeting go, at least from my opinion, somewhat orderly in an orderly fashion. And I think having that vetting process of having those groups carefully go through and present the budget and the plan overall hopefully gives great confidence to town meeting that these have been vetted carefully. And I think the process, ultimately the process starts in September and October and finishes with town meeting in May. So one of the things that I think we did at town meeting that I was very proud of is that we tried to really take the warrant this year and made sure that we added graphic elements. So town meeting knew what the article was, but then they also had an explanation as to what formulated this article, what were we attempting to do, and then if there was a land element in it, we had a map that showed where that land element was. And if there was any other design plans that we had, we tried to incorporate those in. I do apologize in advance. I know that, and maybe after the fact, I know some of those graphics, when you're dealing with just 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, to get a big image in there is somewhat difficult. And particularly, I know on the sewer articles, in particular wastewater articles, we had kind of very detailed maps, and to show that in such a small form was probably pretty hard to read. So we did decide on trying to get that material in there so people would have it. But I do think that there was quite a few challenging things. We tried also this year. I think the education effort on the wastewater was unprecedented by having the 12-page document and a 4-page document and then 2-page documents to kind of follow up. So if there were questions that emerged, we wanted to make sure we had answers. I do think that we had favorable votes. I think one of the things I do at town meeting is we do record when we have standing counts, and we only had one standing count all town meeting. I think the last 2 years, I think we probably had about 6, at least 4 to 6 each year. So I was impressed that this year we only had the one. And I think that a lot of the articles that had 2/3, that had the borrowing elements, were voted very convincingly. So I think overall, again, from an organizational standpoint, I think town meeting went very well. Hopefully town meeting was very informed. And I do always look for additional ways to inform people of what we're attempting to do. I know I always try to put a plug in with Caleb here to, if people do have questions or you want things covered in a certain way, more than happy to try to address those questions and make sure that we make government as transparent as possible for folks. So I think it's important to just, if you can provide us with some feedback. I know I did ask the Finance Committee and ask the Board of Selectmen, what did we do well? What can we do better? So we did get some pretty good feedback, I think, as a result of that. I think for town meeting next year, just to at least plant the thought in people's minds, I know that there was some discussion in some of the groups that I deal with the moderator and finance committee and so on, that they liked the way town meeting flowed, and they basically asked me, and I certainly will present this to the Board of Selectmen that makes the decision about town meeting, that could we try to do the special town meeting instead of having that intentionally on the second night? Is it possible to incorporate special town meeting into the first night? So that's something that I think that we will look at. I was kind of impressed recently at a meeting I was at that the town of Dennis had 44 articles, so about 11 less than we did, but they were done in one night and about an hour and a half. And I think even Chatham was one night, and I think they were probably 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. So, you know, we do have some of our neighboring towns that have these different complex issues the same as we, and they are able to get through those warrants in one night. I think the first year I was here, I think we were there for 3, and we have been, the last 2 years, we've been able to consolidate down to 2 nights, with the second night being a little bit quicker than the first. So that's something that I think it deserves at least some merit to look at and give some consideration to. So I really wanted to kind of cover today just how town meeting went from a administrative perspective, and to really seek your input for how we can make town meeting flow a little easier. I think one of the innovations we had was putting the motions up on the screen. We also have images, so if people wanted to see additional images, we have those available for folks. So we're trying to do what we can do to have town meeting operate as efficiently and as informative as we can, so people know what they're there for and what they need to vote on. So at the next one, I will kind of cover the additional follow-up from town meeting. There was 7 articles at town meeting that did rely upon contingency appropriations, that relied upon the ballot questions, which are being discerned. And then there was also several charter changes that were voted at the 2016 annual town meeting that are being voted on and considered at this year's town election. So at the next session here, I'll have an opportunity to have that information. We'll provide a more comprehensive overview of what happened at town meeting, and if the contingency appropriations, how those actually fared. So I appreciate your time and attention. Christopher Clark, Town Administrator for the Town of Harwich. Thank you.